So you're here because you want to go deeper, right? You want that real understanding, but maybe without wading through tons of information yourself.
Exactly. Think of this as a shortcut to the core insights.
And today we're diving into a source called New Note. It's giving us a really detailed look at James chapter 5.
Hmm, that's the plan.
Now, okay, an ancient text. Some might think, what's the relevance? But our mission here is to pull out these key themes, warning, encouragement, a call to action that, honestly, feel surprisingly relevant today.
They really do. New Note points out these main threads. A pretty stark warning to the wealthy, a call to the faithful, and this idea of healing the church, the community.
But it's not just black and white, is it?
Not at all. There are nuances, layers here that, well, they apply to pretty much everyone, I think.
Okay, let's get into that first big one then. Verses 1 to 6, the warning to the rich. It kicks off so strongly. Now listen, you rich people, weep and wail. I mean, wow.
It definitely grabs you.
So what's the real heart of this warning, according to New Note?
Well, it's crucial to see. It's not just, having money is bad. The focus is squarely on corruption,
Corruption,
like exploiting workers,
Yeah.
not paying them fairly,
Right.
hoarding resources when others are in need, indulging yourself completely at the expense of others. That's the core issue.
Right. And New Note brings in that human perspective, saying God isn't against blessing, but he is absolutely against injustice.
Exactly. There's this powerful sense that the cries of the mistreated, they're heard, and action is promised. It really underscores responsibility.
It makes you pause, doesn't it, and think, okay, what am I doing with what I've been given? Am I using it to lift others up, or is it, mostly just about me?
That's the reflection point right there. A tough question, maybe, but an important one.
Okay, so from that intense warning, the tone shifts a bit in verses 7 to 9. We get this encouragement. Be patient then, brothers and sisters, until the Lord's coming. So patience, how does that connect?
Yeah, it's a definite shift. The connection seems to be about timing, justice, resolution. It might not be instant.
Yeah.
New Note uses that great analogy of the farmer waiting for the rain. The farmer does the work, plants the seed, but then has to trust the process, right? Can't force the rain or the growth.
Right, you have to wait for the seasons.
Precisely. So the core message is, the harvest is coming. Don't give up now. It's about trusting something bigger, a longer timeline, especially when things feel delayed.
That farmer image,
Yeah.
yeah, that resonates. Waiting for anything, really, a project to change.
But let's be real, waiting is hard.
Oh, it's incredibly hard, especially when things seem unfair or just stuck.
Totally. And New Note acknowledges that. It frames patience not as passive, like doing nothing.
But as active trust.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Active trust in that larger timeline, even
Okay.
when it's tough, which leads to that personal check-in. Where am I getting weary and waiting right now? Is there a promise I'm tempted to just walk away from?
Oof. Yeah, that's a good question to sit with.
Then verses 10 and 11, they point us to examples.
Yeah.
As you know, we count as blessed those who have persevered. It mentions the prophets and Job.
Job, right. The classic example of suffering.
The key thing New Note highlights is that these people suffered greatly. This wasn't easy faith. They went through immense hardship.
But they held on.
They held on. And as the text points out, God restored Job. God honored the prophets. Their endurance wasn't for nothing. It connects holding firm through difficulty with, well, ultimate vindication or blessing.
And New Note emphasizes that suffering often doesn't have those neat, quick solutions we might want.
No, it really doesn't. It's more about the lasting value of that endurance, that perseverance itself.
So the reflection becomes, even when I don't get why this is happening.
Can I trust the God who's with me in it? Can I trust the journey, even without understanding every step? It's about building that deeper resilience.
Okay. Then verse 12 pivots. It feels quite direct. Above all, do not swear. Let your yes be yes and your no, no. Seems simple, but what's the depth here?
It seems simple, but it's profound, isn't it? New Note explains it as a call for just, like, rock-solid honesty, dependable speech. No manipulation, no exaggeration, no need for fancy oaths to back up your word.
Because your word itself should be enough.
Exactly. It's about integrity. And the human perspective New Note brings out is how this builds credibility. Trustworthy people, well, you just believe them. They don't need to swear oaths.
Their reputation precedes them, in a way.
Precisely. So it makes you ask yourself, right, is my word trustworthy? Do people generally believe what I say without needing extra proof or promises?
Yeah, that's a high bar.
It is, but it speaks volumes about character.
All right, then verses 13 to 16 offer this really practical, almost how-to guide for different life situations. Is anyone among you in trouble? Let them pray. Is anyone happy? Let them sing.
Yeah, it's very grounded. It covers the spectrum, doesn't it? Trouble means pray, joy means praise. Sickness means call for support from the community elders. Struggle means confess and support each other.
It really emphasizes community, doesn't it? Calling the elders, confessing to each other.
Absolutely. The big takeaway here, as New Note puts it, is that healing, whether physical, spiritual, emotional, it often happens in community, not in isolation.
That's such a countercultural idea sometimes. We often feel we have to handle everything alone.
We do,
Hmm.
but the text suggests this different way. New Note uses this image of the church or the community as like a spiritual hospital,
Hmm.
a place you go for support and healing, not somewhere you have to pretend you're already
A
perfect.
spiritual hospital. I like that.
It prompts that question. Do I actually turn to God and to others in all these different seasons, the highs, the lows, the in-betweens?
That's a challenge. Okay, next up, Elijah, verses 17 and 18. It says something striking. Elijah was a human being, even as we are. Why emphasize that?
Yeah, New Note really zooms in on that phrase. It's intentional. Elijah wasn't some superhero.
He wasn't born with special powers.
No, he was human, just like us. He had the same basic nature, same struggles, presumably, and yet his prayer had this incredible power. Change the weather.
So the message is
The message is crystal clear. Your prayers are powerful too. It directly counters that feeling maybe some of us have.
that only special people, spiritual giants, have prayers that really work.
Exactly that feeling.
Yeah.
This passage throws that idea out. It suggests God responds to any believer who prays sincerely, in faith,
Wow. Okay.
which leads to a pretty potent question, New Note implicitly raises. What could actually shift in my life, my family, my work, my city, if I prayed like I truly believed it mattered?
Yeah, that's a big one to chew on. What if?
Mm.
Okay, so finally, the chapter wraps up in verses 19 and 20 with this call to action. Whoever turns a sinner from the error of their way will save them from death. What's the core mission here?
The mission is go after the wanderer. Actively seek out those who are drifting, getting lost, making choices that are harmful to themselves or others. It's not just about celebrating our own salvation.
It's about caring for the community, for those struggling.
Yes, and New Note really stresses the compassion behind this, remembering everyone has a story, everyone struggles. It's an argument against just canceling people.
And instead, reaching out.
Reaching out, offering support, maybe guidance, with humility. Which brings us to that final, quite challenging question for you listening. Who in my life might be drifting away from God, or just from a healthy path? And have I maybe stopped praying for them? Or have I stopped actively, carefully reaching out?
Wow. That's a direct call to action right
It
there.
really is. A call to care.
So wrapping up this deep dive into James 5, we've seen these threads woven together that serious responsibility with resources,
The power of patient faith, holding on.
a vital need for integrity, for our yes to mean yes,
The absolute necessity of community and prayer through everything.
and ending with that call to actively look out for each other.
Yeah. Now, here's a thought to maybe sit with, building on all this. Consider how all these different instructions, managing wealth, how you speak, how you pray, how you interact in community, how they all seem to point towards a life lived with real, intentionality and deep connection.
Connection both upwards maybe and outwards to others.